Hello there, it's Terry here for Tailored Expressions. For today's video, I am sharing two cards that I created using the Scattered Blooms card making kit. So let's get started. Okay, so before we dive into the card making process, I wanted to share the content of what's included in the kit. To start, it comes in a lovely zipper bag to keep everything together. The kit includes several toner foil sheets. You can apply foil to the sheets or leave it as is. So instead of having to stamp out the images, it is already ready for use. The kit includes layering stencils to make the coloring process super easy. I really like how the stencils are labeled and numbered on the bottom, as well as 4 squares to align each stencil perfectly. There's also a coordinating die to cut out the flowers and leaves with one run through your die cutting machine. Also included are several sheets of the insiders. You can also foil these sheets as well. A sentiment hugs die, which include the backer die as well. And there are also flower envelope sealers. These are not included with the kit. Okay, so other than the kit, I will be using simple strip and reverse everyday occasion, frame and frame cutting plate, ink pads in the colors Toffee, Mango, Key Lime, Granny Smith, Pineapple, Lollipop, and Cotton Candy. We'll need blender brushes for blending onto the stencil and cardstock in the color Sugar Cube and Toffee. I went ahead and placed one of the toner sheets down on my work surface with the first stencil over the sheet. It's rather simple to align the stencil with the toner sheets. All that you have to do is match up the 4 squares on each corners together. I held it down using my magnets to assure that it doesn't shift during the blending process. If you don't have this, you can surely tape the 2 down to your work surface as well. I started with my blue blender brush and cotton candy ink pad. I applied a generous amount of ink to the first layer, making sure that I covered all the open areas. Then I removed the stencil and continue on with the second stencil. I aligned it again with the squares and placed my magnet on top. This time I went in with my pink blender brush and Lollipop ink pad. I applied that to all the open areas. I went ahead and continued using pineapple ink, key lime ink, Granny Smith ink, mango ink, and toffee ink. The following result is always so impressive because I didn't do much of anything but blend in a few colors of ink. It's so beautiful and I love this design. For the first card, I will be using the coordinating die. Very simple again to align the die. Just match up the 4 squares and tape it down. I had to use a pokey tool to remove the die cuts that didn't want to release from the die. Here you can see all the pieces. There's so many beautiful pieces. I am going to start off using one of the insider sheets and play around with the placements of the die cut pieces. I want to create a floral border around the sheet and frame that with a frame die cut to create dimension. So once I got a good idea of the placement, I used a combination of liquid adhesive and foam squares to adhere the pieces to the sheet. Now to create the frame border. I used a large die from frame and frame cutting plate and ran that through my die cutting machine out of Toffee Cardstock. I applied foam squares around the edges of the card panel and added liquid adhesive to the back of the frame die cut before I pressed it down onto the card panel. Now using my scissor, I went ahead and trimmed off the excess. I then adhere that to a top folding card base, and that completes the first card. For the second card, I created the same panel using the toner sheet along with the layering stencil off screen. I am trimming it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Using the same frame die as earlier, I ran it a few times out of sugar cube cardstock and once out of Toffee Cardstock. I layered it together using liquid adhesive to create dimension. I adhered it down onto the card panel with liquid adhesive. For one of the sentiments, I am using a strip from the Simple Strip in Reverse Everyday Occasion. I popped that onto the bottom using foam square. I adhered it onto a top folding card base. So going in with a white gel pen, I am using it to add on highlights and details throughout the card panel. So at this point, I wanted to add another sentiment to the card design. So I grabbed the hug sentiment that came with the card making kit and ran that out of Oreo cardstock and vellum. I adhered it together using liquid adhesive and popped it onto the card panel. I also added white highlights onto the sentiment as well. And that's it. Here's a look at the two cards side by side. I hope you found some inspiration in this video and are able to get crafty in your craft space. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to receive notification for all future videos. Okay, until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.